What's going on, guys? Ryan here. Before we get into today's video, I just wanted to go ahead and plug a Kickstarter that is being run by some friends of ours, Ryan and Chris over at Objective Control. They have launched their Kickstarter Round 2 for Objective Control. Guys, if you don't know, Objective Control makes a bunch of awesome tabletop wargaming objective markers, 40K terrain templates. In this Kickstarter, they've got like themed ones now. They've got these. They didn't even tell me that they were doing these. The plastic magnet converters, guys. I'm so excited for this Kickstarter. I can't even like talk straight. Yeah, go ahead and check the Kickstarter out. I'll leave a link in the description down below. There's a bunch of themes that they've already unlocked: Kill Team objective markers, Shatterpoint objective markers, Age of Sigmar objective markers. There's once they get to these later tiers, there's all these other like themed objective markers stuff that they're going to be unlocking too. Dice bags, different themed bases. There's just a lot of like great hobby stuff that's going on in this Kickstarter. So make sure you go ahead, check out the Kickstarter. Shane and I have been using their objective markers from the first Kickstarter they did. I think I want to say around this time of years ago, and we love them. We can attest to their quality. At ACO this weekend, we loved them so much that we had ordered a bunch from Chris and Ryan, and we were just handing them out as like nice little like party favors almost to all of our opponents that weekend. So yeah, super cool that they're doing this. Go ahead and check out this Kickstarter. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Command Point. My name's Ryan, and today I'm here with Shane.
Hello.
Shane, how's it going? Big
It's
weekend for us.
going pretty great. Yeah. I mean, what can I say?
So if you guys didn't already know, Shane and we went to Atlantic City Open this past weekend, where Shane took the Felgor Ravagers, I took the Nemesis Claw Nightlords team, and Shane, you wound up winning the whole thing, going 5-0. I went 0-2 day one, and then pulled off the reverse sweep to end 3-2. So Nemesis Claw went positive for me. Accomplished the goal of beating like the 45% win rate or whatever it is that they're like stuck at right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, Shane, congratulations on winning ACO.
Thank you. That's I won it last year too. So
Back to back.
back to back.
Mm-hmm.
5-0 last year, 5-0 this year. Last year I played Chaos Cult and I felt bad about myself. This year I play Felgor and I feel a little bad about myself, but not nearly as bad as I did
Yeah,
last year. So
definitely not as broken a team as Cult were around this time last year.
a little broken. A little broken, but not that broken.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess we can get into them a little bit. I also wound up winning Best Painted Kill Team, so very
Well
proud of
done.
myself for that. Thank you. By the time that this goes up, I should have a bunch of more like, I guess, professional looking photos of my Nemesis Claw kill team up on my hobby Instagram, and you can find that at botched_minis. Yeah, you can go check those out. I'll probably post them in the hobby channel too on our Discord if you're not already a part of that. So go ahead and join that as well. But yeah, Shane, so I guess where do we want to start with talking about like ACO this weekend, the teams that were there, how we think those teams, what we can take away from the performance of those teams from this ACO tournament weekend?
Yeah, so I mean, I didn't really know what to. So I thought that we were going to see like a few mandrakes, a few, maybe a pathfinder.
Yeah.
And we didn't have any pathfinders. We didn't have any mandrakes, which are two pretty scary teams. Um, there were two other Felgors aside from me, and there was two Nemesis Claw, one Legionary, one Blades of Cain, and one Star Strider, one Hunter Clade. There was one Hearthkin Salvager who ended up placing third. What else was there? I'm going off the top of my head here. I'm trying to remember what I played against. It wasn't like a wild spread, and it was actually a pretty small tournament. I would say it was a bit of a Shark Tank.
Yeah,
with
19 players, but a lot of, I guess you could say, top tier talent at this tournament.
yes.
Chris
Yeah.
Baki was there with his Blades of Cain. Nick Craven was there running the Kasserkin. You obviously were there as well. Um,
Mhm. Janice was there with the
with the
Falgors,
Felgors.
and none of the players we just said even were in top three. So there's other players that were there that were doing even better. So it was definitely a stacked competition.
Hmm.
Um, I finally got it pulled up. There was two commandos, obviously one Kasserkin, I believe two Warp Coven,
Yep.
and then of course a Chaos Demons rounding out our list of teams here. So pretty cool list of factions. I'd taken so I know Ryan, you were gonna take Nemesis Claw no matter what. I
It
mean, you had
it didn't
decided on that.
matter. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I will say I was trying to get best painted this year.
Yeah.
And as soon as after that team came out, like that was all I was working on painting wise was this team.
Right.
So there was no way I wasn't going to take them.
That makes sense. So regardless, not a meta pick. No, not a pick for the meta. I was trying to figure out what to play. I thought about playing Kroot, and then my better judgment stopped me from doing that.
Yeah, thank goodness.
Um, yeah, I would not have won if I played Kroot. Spoiler. But no, I wanted to take something that I felt was good into Mandrakes and Pathfinders, the teams I mentioned earlier. Um, and of course, neither of those teams showed up. So I was like, oh, well, that definitely changes a little bit, I guess. But I still felt like Felgor had a good enough spread into most things that I felt I could do pretty much fine with them.
Hmm.
Um, the only team I think they have a really bad matchup into, I would say, is like Gellerpox, and not a lot of people play Gellerpox, and even less people play Gellerpox well, and so I wasn't super worried about running into that. And there was no Gellerpox, so probably the right call.
Yeah. There was a moment there when we were thinking about what team you should take, where you entertained the idea of actually running the Custodes Compendium team. Shane, do you want to talk about that a little
Oh,
bit?
I did think about that. So again, that was a team where I felt they had pretty good matchups into the popular stuff. Not Pathfinders, actually. Um, I was afraid of Pathfinders being there, which is why I didn't take that was like why I steered away from that idea. But I do think Talons are really great into Mandrakes. I think they're solid into Felgors. I think they're good into most like good things. They just struggle into those like shooty hordes, which are pretty good right now.
Right.
Mostly like Pathfinders. I would say probably Blooded, I would imagine, are probably fine into Talons as well.
Do you think Kasserkin would work into Custodes?
Oh, you know what? I think Castrican could do some work. Although you could, I don't know, the seven model variation where you go five sisters of the faceplates, that could give Castrican trouble. I could see
Hmm.
that. Yeah, that's an interesting matchup. I'd have to see that on the table.
I think I sidetracked you here a little bit with that Custodes question. Where were you going to go next?
No, so I mean, yeah, I hadn't taken Felgor to a tournament before,
Hmm.
even though I was like really excited for the team when they came out, and I had them like painted like when we got the box
I
from
remember,
GW and stuff.
yeah.
And yeah, I just never took them. So I was like, this is a good time to take them. I think they're pretty good. They're very good.
Hmm.
And I did pretty well. So yeah, I was happy.
Everybody knows that Felgor are like really good. But is there anything in particular about the team that you felt was like potentially like game breaking or like overpowered or like something that like was almost like a crutch for you to lean on? Outside of like the frenzy mechanic, I guess. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, nothing about the team is like game breaking to me. It's just it feels very like outrageously oppressive. And I felt like I could just grind teams down just by making like solid choices and not, overexposing myself and holding back certain threats. I would say the MVP of the tournament is easily the Mangler. The Mangler is ridiculous. It's very easy for that model to just charge two guys and kill two guys, sometimes without taking any damage back,
okay.
depending on if they've gone or not, because if he's fighting a non-ready operative and he crits, he can immediately strike with another attack before they go, and he's got 4/6 damage. And you have the opportunity to like pay a CP to do extra damage. So if I was hitting somebody with like I just love their host of ploys too, like their tactical ploys. Like I feel like they're all very basic in like easy to understand, but it just makes for a really strong toolbox. Like the +1 inch movement on charge. I think I use that every game at least once.
Yeah.
It just comes up. It just comes up every game.
Yep.
The +1 damage. I think I did that 2 or 3 times. Just, it happens. It comes up. Sometimes you're fighting with a guy who has 4 or 5 damage and you're fighting a 10 wound model and you only have one crit. So you pay a CP, you do 6 damage with the crit, and then all of a sudden they're getting two shot. And that's the difference between you like killing something or not killing something. They have Blood Sense, which is just GA2. Like if I won initiative, I set up a Blood Sense play, and then it's like, okay, well, game's over.
Yeah.
And I think I ended up doing the charge after a kill one once, but that play is also amazing. So their attack plays are just like simple, strong, fantastic. I don't know. I just love them.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love the get a free charge after a kill ploy. Nemesis
Mhm.
Claw also has that, and I was able to get off like the dream play in my game against Bob's Legionnaires,
Yeah.
where I was able to charge, kill my assassinate target, and then do the free charge, and then fight again because I had what is it called, the double shoot play.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm such a fake Night Lords fan, not being
I,
able to remember this play.
I don't remember what it's called either.
Nightmare Manifest. Nightmare
Yes.
Manifest. Um, yeah, and just set up a really nice 1-2 punch. Yeah, that's such a good play. Were there? I think we've talked enough about Felgors. I don't know. How did the other Felgor players finish?
Well, I played them both. Let me see. So Janice finished sixth.
Okay.
I think she went 3-2, and James Maxwell, I think he went 2-3. He was 13th.
Okay.
So I did have to do the mirror match twice.
Yeah, that kind
Um,
of stinks. Wasn't that like your first, or that was like
my
your
first
second game
game,
was
and
against Janice, right?
no, it was my first game and my last game were the mirror matches
Oh,
actually.
jeez.
Um, yeah, the first one was against James, and that was on loot. And I basically just prioritized primary, and I got a 4-2 every turn. He was trading with me like pretty well. Like I would even
Okay.
say by the end of the game, he had slightly out traded me, but the primary was just so gone
Mm-hmm.
that there was like no chance. And then against Janice, I just I set up a cheeky kill on turn one, and like I think that was on capture. No, it was on secure. Yeah, and it's a mirror match. So like I happen to get the first kill, and then she tries to kill the guy that I killed, and then I killed that person. So like I just won the trading game. I was like up in the trading game, and it slowly like cascaded, and I won that game.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, what were the second and third placing teams? I believe it was Nemesis Claw came in third. And then what came in
Second,
second? Oh, I mean, Nemesis Claw came in second. Okay, what came in third?
Hearthkin.
Earthkin. Okay.
Yeah, so Andrew and his Nemesis Claw got the golden ticket
Mm-hmm.
for placing second here. I didn't play him, Ryan, but you did in a mirror match,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah. So speaking of round one mirror matches, I got paired up against him, and he clearly had more reps with the team than me. It was pretty apparent. I turned two, um, and like I just was not really anticipating a Nemesis Claw mirror match like at all. I shouldn't say not anticipating, but just was like woefully unprepared for it. Turn one, it was just like an interesting chess match with both of the teams because it's like, okay, you both have prescience tokens and you both have like Vox Scream. So it's like turn one, you're kind of just playing this game where you and the other Nemesis Claw player are just kind of like trying to wait each other out. Um, and yeah, it just did not go my way that game. He was clearly the better Nemesis Claw player, so happy to see him go on and win the golden ticket.
Yeah,
Um,
he seemed like he was doing really well in his games. I wish I had gotten to play him.
yeah, one thing that he pointed out to me in our game was I believe we both used Out of Darkness, the tactical play where you get to make basically like a 4-inch dash at the end of your scouting step, so it's like a another like better recon scout. Um, and I never noticed this because I never think about this. I'm never gonna do like a pre-game tactical play more than one time. Why would you ever do that? And he did. He did it like twice. Spent 2 CP that early on to do that with two of his operatives, and I'm like, oh, I didn't even consider you doing that. And this was the same thing that happened with commandos before their like sneaky get ploy or whatever got nerfed, right? So
Yes,
something
yeah.
something to look out for if you are an aspiring Nemesis Claw player. Maybe don't sink all of your CP into like hoarding it for Vox Scream. Maybe think about just getting up the board as quickly as possible. That's what Andrew told me his strategy was. Just going up and getting as much primary as you can early, at least against like other elite teams, um, which is something that I wound up using in my game against Bob and his Legionnaires. So, yeah, learned a lot from that game.
Yeah. And then in third place we had uh Dylan playing Hearthkin Salvagers. So I did play Dylan. He was my first game on day 2. That was a very tough game, very good player. And I believe actually Andrew's only loss was to Dylan. They both went 4-1, and I think Andrew just had him beat on tac ops for the or not tac ops, but tiebreaker, which I think was victory points, and which is what got Andrew the golden ticket at the end of the day. Um, but it was interesting playing against Hearthkin. I think on paper, Felgor just crushed that matchup. The board we played on, he was able to get quite a few shots on me turn one. He frenzied, I want to say, 2 of my goats at the start of the game, and he injured another. And I was able to kill one of his. I think I killed his grenadier on turn one and did a little damage to his jump pack. So it was a pretty like active turn one. I think on turn two I won initiative. I think I won initiative turns 2, 3, and 4, which is pretty big for me. On turn two I won initiative, and then my death knell charge into 3 dwarves in the back line using the +1 inch play. Or not even that. I don't even think I needed it. I just used call the attack and had him walk up. And he charges 3 dwarves, kills 1, which gets me route and robin or route and eliminate guards. And then my plan was to have my Tox Horn run up and throw the Tox Bomb at the 2 other dwarves I was in combat with to give them both -1 APL. And that way only one of them could fall back for me with the comms. And then my effectively trapping his at least one of his dwarves in combat with my death knell, but I failed the 3-up on one of them. So the other one, he just gave an APL to comms. They both fell back, and then my death knell died. But almost an awesome play. The rest of it was just like I felt like slowly the the Felgor were just sort of like moving up the board and just like crushing the like not crushing but like pushing the board state further back into his deployment zone.
Right.
um, and it worked out pretty well for the goats.
What do you think was the hardest game that you played at the tournament?
That's a tough question. I mean, the first turn and a half of my game with Chris Baki, day one was really difficult.
Mm-hmm.
But once things kind of fell apart for him, the game became pretty simple for me.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I think my game against the Hearthkin was hard from like start to finish almost. Maybe like by turn 4, I think it was pretty much over. But that game was hard for most of the game. Whereas Chris, him and I were in like a pretty much a gridlock on turn 1. He had one moment where he was able to. I got a charge off and my guy died. With he did like a guard fight first, frenzied me, and then I thought I needed to get um, 2 hits hitting on fours, and I only got one, and then he used what's it called? Um, Contempt to stop my rerolls, and then he was able to just frenzy my or he was able to just kill my goat on turn one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then on turn two, he won initiative and he frenzied 2 more goats on the other side. And then I had those 2 goats that frenzied, um, kill one of his guys, blood sense, and then have my leader walk up and fire off his pistol, the bolt pistol, into a Dire Avenger that he had in the back line that was full health. And I'm thinking I'm probably going to do 5 damage here, like on average. Because it's 4 attacks. I'm hitting on 5s because I'm injured, but I'm balanced and rending. So my odds of getting a crit are pretty good, basically with 5 attempts. And then if I get one other normal, I'm getting rending, so I have 2 crits. And then I think my odds are solid of like injuring him and setting myself up later. My leader, my frenzied leader, rolled 3 crits and a 5, which turned into a 4th crit
Oh.
and exploded the Dire Avenger. So my 2 frenzied goats blood sensed and killed 2 of the 2 guys that Chris had on that side of the board. And then all of a sudden, it's like it pretty much just cascaded from there and just completely fell apart for Chris.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like well out activating him at that point, and he's just running low on bodies. So I was able to play it pretty clean from there. But that was a hard game up until that point.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely learned a lot about Blades of Cain on Into the Dark. I've played against them only a couple times, and the last time I played against them was a really good player, but it was on open board at the Chimera tournament. This time it was on Into the Dark, and Chris was showing me some pretty cool Blades of Cain tech that I had never really even considered.
Okay.
So one thing I want to highlight is if you're playing on Into the Dark with Blades of Cain and you have a Howling Banshee go on guard, and somebody charges the Howling Banshee, they can use the guard action to do a fight action. And then if they strike you with a crit because it's their fight action, they can use the technique to fall back out of combat, which is crazy. Because normally, on open board, if somebody charges you, you're never going to be able to like fight first. That's only a thing on Into the Dark, or I guess resolve the first fight action. So on open board, there's no way to like be able to fall back when somebody charges you on their turn. But on Into the Dark, I could charge one of Chris's banshees, and then he would do the guard fight, crit me, run away, and then I'm just sitting there like with my pants down, like, oh, that's horrible. Like I just wasted an entire turn doing nothing except getting crit for 6 damage.
Yeah.
So stuff like that I think is really interesting. Like Dire Avengers, they don't suffer the Overwatch penalty, so them going on guard is pretty scary too. Just a lot of cool guard stuff, which I feel like guard is usually not worth it. But
Yeah.
when you're playing against a melee team and you have all this like weird tech to like make it good, it feels very impactful.
So I thought this was kind of weird with like the spread of teams that we had at ACO this year. I believe there were only 2 like Imperium faction keyworded teams, and that was Star Striders and Kasserkin, right?
Are Hunter Clade Imperium? Do they have that?
Oh
keyword?
yeah, no, they must be. Yeah.
So I guess 3.
Okay, yeah.
Just those.
Yeah.
Not a lot.
No.
I feel like usually it's like half the field. And I only know you know this because you have that
Because of the
Pulse Empire.
tactical ploy, yeah. And I told my game against Star Striders, I did not use it at all.
Yeah.
I didn't even.
It is a good ploy.
Dude, my game against Star Striders, first off, it was a 19-point loss on my part, and it was totally my fault. I completely misplayed the Visionary, moved him up like literally turn 1 to contest the his recover item objective, and he just had one of his Voidsmen just blast him with a laser. Here's the thing, Shane. I would have survived the laser because I was planning. As soon as he announced this, I said, okay, so I'm going to spend a Prescience token to take away one of your successes. He had only rolled like 3 successes or whatever. Like he had 1 miss. So I'm like, okay, take away a success. I'm gonna live on this turn at least. So I'm gonna get something out of this visionary. And then he just CP rerolls the miss into a hit, and then I die, and I'm like, oh, okay, great. So I'm not gonna have my prescience tokens for the remainder of this game. Cool, cool, cool.
Oh,
Um,
rough.
yeah. So even though I had like that little bit of padding, it just didn't work out for me. Um, but yeah, so I was just on my back foot that entire game, just trying to budget for like Vox Scream. Never had an opportunity to actually use Vox Scream that would have benefited me. Weirdest game. I definitely got to play into Star Striders more. Or maybe I should pick up Star Striders and play them, because I think that's the best way to learn the team, is just through firsthand experience.
Yeah, so I mean, how did you overall, like, how did you find playing Nemesis Claw? This was your first tournament with them. You've been practicing with them a bit.
Yeah. I mean, like, I loved playing them. I think they're a lot of fun. I mean, I would put them, if I had to put them in a tier list, like, I would say, like, solid, like, B plus. I think they're, like,
Mhm.
upper end of B. I'm not going to put them in A anymore, I don't think. Um, into elite teams, oh my God, dude. It's not even a contest. The only
Yeah.
time you're going to have a problem if you're a Nemesis Claw player into an elite team is if the other player is also playing Nemesis Claw.
Mm.
Because then you guys are just playing chess with each other.
Yeah.
But like turns 1 and 2 of my game against the Legionnaires, my last game, I accrued 5 prescience tokens. And I think it was on turn 2, I just spent 3 prescience tokens in a row to just keep skipping activations. So the Legionnaires player was forced into this position of, okay, if I move up to actually like get on objectives and score, I'm just gonna get like all of my models are just gonna die because I've had to activate 3 of my own models in a row. And now Ryan's gonna push his stuff up the board and just kill him with the heavy bolter and the screamer or the screecher and the skin thief. So it's like, what do I do here? And so he wound up choosing to just keep his models basically like back, not too far away from his deployment zone. Choose to basically cede control of the mid board to me, and I was able to just go up on primary so much that turn 3, even if he started making a comeback, like mathematically he was out of the game. So super oppressive team against elites. I do not recommend playing elite teams unless you're playing Nemesis Claw.
Yeah, that's pretty tough. And I mean,
I will say I felt bad doing it. For everybody angrily typing in the comments, I felt bad doing it. But hey, I wanted to go 3 and 2. So
I think it's smart too. Like, and they have like just enough durability where other elites can't kill them like super easily,
yeah.
and they hit just hard enough that they can deal with other elites, especially like with some of their ploys and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I see them having a pretty good matchup into other elites, just even aside from the skipping activations
Yeah.
stuff, which can just get really brutal.
The Screecher especially. The
Mhm.
Screecher after this tournament has become my favorite model on the team.
Okay.
So the dream ploy with the Screecher is um you play the strategic ploy We Have Come For You. I believe that's the one where you inflict D3 mortals if your first action with that model is a charge. You inflict D3 mortals, so you're at least doing 1 point of damage. And the way that his, I think it's Appetite for Cruelty ability works is that if the model he's in engagement range with uh, is not at full wounds, you're getting lethal 4 with Relentless on your Lightning Claws instead of lethal 5 Relentless. I mean, lethal 5 Relentless is already like really good. But when it's at lethal 4, you're doing like 4 or 5 with full rerolls on everything. It is ridiculous. And it's like, I am okay to leave that model in conceal, move him up onto a midboard objective, and like dare you to charge him because he's
Yeah, because
just a
it's like,
beast. I like him better than the skin thief.
yeah, I think I would too. And not to mention he's -1 to hit. You give him flayed skin and you
Yep.
can't reroll.
Yeah.
So a lot of models are like hitting on fours with no rerolls. So they're getting like 2 hits on math
Yeah.
and then they're just dead.
Yep. Yeah. So he's easily my favorite model on this team right now. He's insane. Let's talk about Casterkin here for a little bit. There was one Casterkin player, Nick Craven, the boy, the man, friend of the
Yeah, shout out
podcast.
to Nick.
So unfortunately, Nick went 2-3 at the tournament with Casterkin. Shane, where do you think Casterkin are at? I'm
Man,
okay with throwing them in like low on a tier list, but where do you think they reside right now?
yeah, I mean, Nick Craven is a phenomenal player. So watching him play this team this weekend was like aside from I played him and on Into the Dark on Capture. So Felgor versus Casterkin on Into the Dark Capture is basically not a real game. But even aside from that, it's like they're basically like we're talking about a team that is like they struggle into just about everything except elites. And elites constitutes like 3 teams.
Yeah.
I mean, Intercession, Legionary, I guess 4 teams, Phobos and Justian. I'm not even sure if they are good against Phobos. Like Phobos are tricky, and Nemesis Claw have pretty good tools into them. So it's like we're talking about a team with like 2.5 good matchups, and I honestly think they lose to like everything else. So how is that any different from Kroot?
Okay. All
I
right.
mean, right? Isn't that
Yeah.
Kroot where they're good against like 2 things and they're horrible against everything else? Casterkin is, I think they're like, I think they're trash. I really think they're trash.
Okay.
Um, I don't know. I haven't seen anybody take them deep. I know there was some people on the West Coast did okay with them in the past. Um, I mean, like obviously the melee meta took them out, but we're not even in the melee meta anymore. Like
No.
Felgors are obviously still up there, Gellerpox are up there, but there's a lot else going on. And they lose to shooty hordes, they lose to melee hordes, they lose to other mid-range teams. I think they lose to elf teams. So it's like, what are we doing? I don't know what this team does. Like
Yeah.
they just shoot you, and I don't know. It's there's just not enough going on there. There needs to be. I don't know what the team needs. Genuinely, it seems like a lot of mid-range teams need some form of melee threat that isn't wrapped up into like a combat knife that you need to pay a CP to even make it good half the time. And even then, it's not good most of the time because you only have 3 attacks. So
So,
not having melee sucks, I guess, for
yeah.
mid-range.
I mean, I don't even know if I guess that could be the answer, but it's like if we want to stay with this faction's identity, right? Of being like the preeminent like shooty semi-horde, let's call it. How would you feel about them having their elite points as is, but just bumping their ballistic skill to 3 instead of 4? How would you feel about the team then?
Then they're broken.
Okay.
This is the problem. You can't fix this team. I don't know how to fix this team. Because if they're not hitting on threes with elite points, they just get 4 hits every time. They just kill everything. It's stupid.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I mean, first they need something to like. Their strategic ploys are garbage. Other than reposition, reposition is good.
Uh-huh.
They need some ploy to like, or some way to deal with teams that out activate them because they have nothing there. Like they can load up elite points to delete a Marine, but when it comes to playing against a 14 model Vet Guard team, for instance, they just can't do it. I mean, there's too many of them, and you just aren't hitting hard enough on average to kill like a basic guy
Right.
with somebody who doesn't have a special weapon.
What if
Oh, I don't know.
so now I'm just spitballing here at how to make this team like good without it being broken. What about a 1 CP strategic ploy that allowed them to shoot twice? I
I
know this is a 2 APL team.
think it's probably yeah. You know what I like? What I would like to see?
Yeah.
And so I'm just thinking about this now. Um, you know how Pathfinders, their guns are there's 12 of them and their guns are 4 or 5 damage.
Yeah. Yeah.
What if the hotshot las guns were 4/4?
Okay.
Because now all of a sudden the hotshot las gun's your basic gun, two normals are killing a guardsman, which I think is a problem that they have. I don't know if that suddenly makes them win against these teams, but it's at least you have a little more juice.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That seems I mean, like my you say that, my first reaction is okay, maybe Pathfinder shouldn't have guns that, do
Yeah,
4 or 5.
that's the real
I think
answer.
I think that's a problem, but no, I mean like, hey, they're hotshot las guns. Let's let's bump them to 4/4. That seems cool. That seems like a measured approach to this problem. And then the Tempestus Scions on like the Compendium Guard team, we can just forget about them at this point.
Yeah, they have take aim. They can reroll ones and they hit on threes.
Yeah,
So are they that much worse than Casterkin? I don't even
I
think
think they
so.
might be better. I think they're.
They
I
might
think they
even
would
be
argue
better.
that they're better. um,
Yeah, I don't know. I just think a team that sucks 95% of the time is probably just sucks, you know.
yeah. Speaking of teams that suck, there were 2 Warp Coven teams at this tournament. To my knowledge, they did not place well. I did play Warp Coven. I think it was my first game of game 2, and the player was definitely a newer player who was not 100% like familiar with all of the rules for Warp Coven. But I mean, I feel like you could play this team 10 times, and you are not going to have all of your rules down because there's a lot of stuff going on with this team. They've had a lot of changes over the years, and I don't know if the team has significantly gotten better enough to like really compete. It just kind of feels like a change of clothes.
I
Um,
so I actually think that they're close to good.
okay.
I just think that the problem they have is not something that I think is going to get solved. I think that their main problem in my eyes is tac ops scoring. Their faction tac ops are pretty bad,
Mm-hmm.
and they have access to recon and security, and they can make it work a little bit, but they're very rarely going to go 6 for 6 on tac ops. And I think you need to I think a good team is always capable of going 6 for 6 on tac ops.
Mm-hmm.
And with Warp Coven, even in a game that's going well that you're winning, I think you're going to have a hard time getting all your tac ops maxed.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, with like, I think it was Nemesis Claw, Mandrakes, and now the Termination teams, like all of those teams have access to 3 archetypes. Let's give Warp Coven like access to Seek and Destroy, right? Like
Yeah,
every other elite team in this game, I believe, has Seek. Why not?
yeah, lose recon. I don't know. Get recon out of there.
Get it
Security, I
out of
can see.
here. Yeah.
Security, I can see because you could be like, hey, this building 3 inches from my deployment zone. It's the Zinch grand plan for me to stand next to it on turn 4. Um, but recon, I don't know. I don't really get it. Seek and Destroy, you can at least say, well, the Zangors want to kill you. You know, they're angry birds. We're gonna lean into the killing side of it.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe there's like a Zinch enthusiast who can tell me in the comment section why I'm wrong and why recon is imperative to the lore. But anyway,
Zeech enjoyer.
yeah. Anyway, it doesn't matter because they never changed archetypes. It seems in data slates they don't change tac ops at all. So unless we get like another approved ops or something, I don't foresee Warp Coven's scoring situation getting any better.
What other teams do we want to talk about here that were at this tournament, Shane?
I mean, I talked about all the teams that I played against, I think. What you played against Commandos at one point.
Yes, I did.
Commandos are definitely they're slowly fading out of the meta from the top tables. I think a lot of the top players are abandoning them.
I think so, yeah.
How did they feel when you played them?
So, I was initially a little scared in my matchup against Commandos because my opponent was able to use the sneaky get ploy with his with a breacher boy with dynamite on him to stick him like right in front of my DZ, like just outside 6 inches. And I'm like, and this was after like 2/3 of my team was already placed. And so I'm like, okay, now I have to deal with that. Um, and so far everybody is set up in infiltrate, and I really wanted like a fortify or a recon. So I'm like, I really don't want to have to do infiltrate here, but it's how it worked out. Fortunately for me. I was able to just shut him down with a Vox Scream, and
Oh.
then, or actually, no, it wasn't that. He didn't activate him first. That wasn't his first activation. His first activation were some other models. Um, and so obviously the way Sneaky Git works, you got to be within an inch of heavy cover, and you have to be outside of 6 from your opponent's DZ. My Ventriloquar was just close enough that with a move dash, I could use my once per game psychic action to make him walk through a door and stand right in front of my Plasma Gunner. Plasma Gunner supercharges. Plasma Gunner shoots. Only scores a single hit.
Ah.
So that felt real bad. Um, so this commando actually wound up living and going on to throw his dynamite into 3 of my legionnaires, Shane. 3.
Oh.
Uh, Unfortunately for the commando, he was within 3 inches of my Screecher when he threw said dynamite. So he was only hitting on 4s. Screecher also has flayed skin, so no rerolls. So I think in total, this dynamite wound up doing, I want to say like 8 or 9 points of damage total, spread between like 2 models. Or no, he just wound up hurting the Plasma Gunner. I think he did like 5 damage to the Plasma Gunner, and nobody else took any damage because of those shooting debuffs.
Ah.
So, yeah, initially kind of scary. My opponent also made a pretty big blunder in his deployment. He set up his Rocket Boy, a regular Commando Boy, and his Slasher Boy, like on conceal and within range of cover, like within one of some pieces of cover. Um, but he just like put him like right on the deployment line, and there wasn't cover in between my models and his models that he had set up on the line there. So he had to kind of scramble to get most of the models like to safety, which was a really big detriment to him. And I did wind up taking infiltrate, selected my heavy bolter, who I had set up within, to have line of sight on like 3 of those 3 models. Played the Nightmare Manifest for the double fight double shoot, shot twice and killed 2. I killed the Rocket Boy, and I killed, I think it was just a Commando Boy, just off the rip turn 1. So that definitely, like, he lost like 2 or 3 models turn 1. I think that really like put him on his heels for the rest of that game. I don't necessarily. Obviously that's just like pilot error at that point. Once again, the player was not the most experienced kill team player. He was relatively new. Um, so yeah, I don't know how much of a good reflection of the team as a whole into Nemesis Claw is,
Mm-hmm.
but it felt like even in the situations where I did not have an overwhelming advantage because of the toolbox that Nemesis Claw has, um, you know, I think they're able to get it done into that team.
Okay. Very cool. So I
Um,
mean, I guess like takeaways from the tournament, like what is like some good advice you would give to aspiring Nemclaw players after 5 games?
Ooh, man. Um, what advice to give? Definitely, I feel like the spending multiple CP at the end of your scouting step for out of darkness is definitely a strategy that may be worth pursuing. Um, really lean on your in Midnight Clad. Uh, don't send out your Visionary turn 1 to contest a mid-board objective against Elucidian Starstriders who can just blow you up with a Death Star laser. Don't do that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Pretty much every game that I played, like you just go full seek and destroy. I don't think it matters the team that you're playing against. Into elite teams, this was something that I remembered back when we did your Legionaries deep dive. I took Headhunter I took assassinate, and I believe I took rob and ransack because with legionaries and with most elite teams, if their leader is not active in the game, just sitting on a backfield objective, they're not going to win. So definitely take those two. It doesn't matter who they
Yeah.
nominate as the assassinate target because you have the tools to get to them and to kill them. Whoever they nominate
Nice.
as the assassinate target, I mean, like, just send the Screecher at them. And
Yeah.
it's just like, oh,
You'll get there.
yeah. Um, Against like other teams, I would say take Robin Ransack. Robin Ransack, I think is just a mainstay. You just take that every single time.
Yeah.
For other seek and destroy ploys, route is always a good option on the hot dog deployment. Don't take it on like the long ways, like the hamburger deployment or whatever, just because that's going to be a little bit harder for you to score. Um, into Elucidian Starstriders, they got a lot of models on that team with 7 wounds. So you can take the Nemesis Claw ploy where you get points for killing models that start the game with 7 wounds.
I like that
Um,
against them. Yeah.
yeah, the caveat with it is they have to be outside of 6 from other models on their like other friendly models. But against Starstriders, that's actually pretty easy to score because they are a comparatively low model count team. How many wounds do
Yeah.
Kasserkin have? They have 8 now,
8.
right?
They used to have 7. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say the other team too is Novitiates. They're a 10 model team with 7 wounds.
Mm-hmm.
So
I know that Navy Breachers they have like the equipment that gives them +1 to their wound. I haven't read the wording on that equipment in a while, so look into it and see if that
I
is
will look that up right now.
yeah.
I'm pulling it up. So stims add 1 to this operative's wounds characteristic for the
Okay.
battle. So it is like
Yeah, it's prior to the battle, so I'm gonna
yeah,
assume that the tactical play will not work against them.
I think so.
Vet Guard, I'm not sure if you take it
Too many
because there's
guys.
too many guys. Yeah. Um, Chaos Cult, same issue, kind of. There's not a lot of like, Exaction Squad. You could probably take it into. I forget
No,
how
I
many
think
wounds they
exaction's
start
eight
with.
eight
Oh,
wounds, I
okay,
believe.
okay.
Inquisition's got
Yeah.
a lot of bodies.
Very niche, but into those two matchups, I would say it's very good.
Okay, cool.
Um, yeah, what's a good third tack op to pivot to?
Robin Ransack. Did you already say that?
Robin Ransack is like a mainstay. You always take that. You always take that.
Yes.
Into elites, you take Headhunter and you take Assassinate Target. I guess you can take Executioner in lieu of like your third option into some teams.
I think even then you go Robin Ransack.
Oh
Into
no, no, no,
elites.
no. I'm saying you always take Robin Ransack.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I see.
yeah. You'd never not take Robin Ransack, especially with this team.
Mhm.
Um, right now, I mean, in terms of equipment, I always took at least 2 flayed skin. I took and I put those on the melee guys, the skin thief and the screecher. I put the gory trophy or the grizzly trophy on the visionary every game. Um, and then like the big like list building decision you're always gonna have is between taking a heavy bolter and taking the fearmonger. Um, into like, and I think both are like good on Into the Dark against like a non-elite team where the models have comparatively like lower wounds counts. I would say you could go Fearmonger, um, because like you unlock Blast with his thrown weapon, you unlock,
And like
um,
lethal 5 with the
yeah,
blast.
yeah. So that one's that would be like the preferred option. Into elites, I feel like you always take heavy bolter just because you're going to
Yeah.
be doing more damage. Um,
Nice.
I'll be honest, Shane. The poison objective ability, I think there's better uses of your AP out there.
Yeah, unless you have nothing else to do, like on turn 1, I
Yeah,
guess you might as well.
Yeah,
Um,
like I'm not saying like I would say like if you have the option, do not recon dash the fearmonger in arena like up to a door. That way you can like open the door, move onto the objective, and then poison it. Like open the
yeah.
door, move onto the objective, and just cap it. You don't. You're doing D3 damage, and I mean like on the next turn, if somebody comes onto that objective to contest it or whatever, they're not gonna survive. So it's like, what's the point in doing this damage ahead of time? You know?
Right.
Yeah, which sucks because their fearmonger is like one of the models look freaking sweet, but he's really cool looking and he's very unique from
Yeah.
like other like Space Marine looking models in this game.
hmm
Yeah.
Um, I had a few final thoughts on Felgorf, some final tips. I haven't played a ton with this team, but I think my biggest takeaway from this tournament playing them is that I think a lot of other Felgor players don't do that I've seen. I'm sure some of the good ones do, but I haven't played against any of the like the Orions. I haven't played against him. I've just seen a lot of Felgor where they play very cagey turn one,
Mm-hmm.
like kind of like how you'd expect from like most melee teams. And it does make sense. That was my first instinct playing the team as well. But I think actually in all of my games at ACO, I had at least one very aggressive, like attrition focused play on turn one. Um, and I think between like using call the attack to get the 3-inch dashes on a bunch of guys to start and having an order flip or just a guy on engage behind like out of line of sight, um, pairing that with the plus 1 inch to charge, you're actually going to get onto like the mid board with your charge. So um, being able to threaten the mid board with on turn one with like an infiltrate or something is very strong. Look out for that if you're playing against Felgor. And I will also say, in addition to that, try to like chip some damage out. Like use the Toxmorn on turn one. Try to get some mortals and some crucial stuns out late in the turn.
The
Put
stuns are
that
so good.
yeah, yeah. Put that crack grenade on the Gnarl Scar still. I know you can't throw it in engagement range anymore like you used to, but you still make him engage on turn one, give him the crack, either dash him up or, whip him to give him an APL or dash him up and whip him and have him run up into heavy cover, chuck the crack grenade at somebody, and then he flips to conceal and you're safe. Um, so really, really strong uh, turn one aggression from a team that doesn't have any shooting more than 6 inches. They absolutely have the tools to put damage out or just outright kill things on turn one. And I think I was always looking for this, and I think this was a pretty big difference maker in my games because I think it's very tempting as a melee team to go full conceal, make no attempt to kill anything, focus entirely on staying safe. But I think I think it's easy to be too cagey with Felgors because they do have the capability to play aggro early game.
Yeah. In our
Um,
practice game, I mean, there was a point where you were just, I don't know if we were on like long ways deployment. I don't think the terrain favored you as much, but there is a point in like turn one where you're just like, I don't know what I'm gonna do here. I think I just have to like go just like human wave it and just push
yeah,
everybody forward and just threat saturate. And I think that's a valid strategy for Elgors.
yeah. And it was on turn two. You had one initiative, and there was like limited angles for me to kill you, but you with initiative definitely had some plays you could make. And I had a cluster of guys like in the middle of the board, kind of. And I'm like, you know what? You're getting initiative, and you already have somebody to kill right now. So let's just call the attack and just walk like a cluster of like four guys just forward.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, the majority of my team is able to threaten you as well. So I mean, like you said, just the wave of garbage just coming at you is like that's actually good. You just overwhelm the other team and just grind them down.
Yeah.
Um, the other thing I'll talk about tech ops, I guess. I actually, most of the time, when I go to a tournament, I end up running like the same tac ops like 90% of the time. This tournament, I feel like I ran different tac ops like almost every game. Um, in the first game against Felgors, I ran the faction tac op. I believe it's faction tac op 3, Relentless Aggression. So Relentless Aggression, it's basically you reveal it at the end of any turning point. And if you have 5 or more guys, either within 6 of enemy operatives and or within 6 of the enemy drop zone, you get a point. So a lot of Felgor players will just take this every game. My hot take is I don't think you should take this every game. I think that there are times when you take it and it's just like a slam dunk. For example, the mirror match, because you guys have to get close to each other. And it's going to be hard for that not to happen. But against teams like shooty teams that want to stay back and not let you charge them on turn 2, I don't think it's a good idea to take it, because if you don't score it on turn 1, scoring it and maxing it becomes very difficult, because you're probably going to get it on turn 2, and then by the end of turn 3, it's very possible that you don't have 5 goats alive. You might have 4. Or if you do have 5, you need all 5 of them to be fulfilling the conditions, which is,
Yeah.
it's possible just one won't. Maybe he's setting on a back objective. So I am like, I guess, against the grain on this one with other Felgor players. I think that most of the time you actually don't take it. But I did on game 1 against Felgor mirror match. I took it because I knew my opponent would take it, and he's just going to score it for me.
Yeah.
And I took recon this game, and I took recover item and courier. So that was my tac ops on game 1. And I'll say I maxed tac ops every game at this tournament. So I think I did something right with tac ops. On game 2 against Blades of Cain, on Into the Dark, I went recon again, and I took secure unexplored rooms. I took recover item, and I took courier. So I didn't take any faction tac op, and I maxed out. Game 3 against Kasserkin, I took route, I took Rob and Ransack, and I actually took Scorn Their Ways, the faction tac op 2, where on the first turn you pick an enemy operative with a ranged weapon where the normal damage potential is 17 or more, which is the normal damage multiplied by the attack.
Mm-hmm.
So against Kasserkin, I just picked the Meltagun, because you're going to eventually try to kill me with your Meltagun, and you're going to get close, and I'm going to charge you and kill you. So that's like free 2 VP if you do that. Or if they don't ever let you kill the Melta, they're probably holding it back too much, and that's bad for them. So I went route, Rabin Ransack, Scorn Their Ways, and I maxed all 3. Game 4 against Hearthkin, I went Seek and Destroy again, and I took route, Rabin Ransack, Eliminate Guards, and I maxed it out. And then on game 5 against Felgors again, I went the same tac ops I took the first time I played Felgors, and I maxed it out. So really good stuff. Actually, no, did I? Yeah, I did. It was courier, recover item, and relentless aggression. So I think that, like, I actually really find that part of it satisfying playing Felgors, is that I do feel like they're a team that really mixes it up with the tac ops. Like when I played Higher Tech, I only took 4 tac ops, and the 4th would swap out against hordes. And other than that, it was the same every game. And when I played elites, it was 99% of the time unless I was against elites, I was taking the same 3 with legionnaires. So playing Felgors and taking like 4 different configurations of tech ops was like fun. It was really satisfying.
Yeah.
I think they score tech ops very well. So I would advise not just slamming relentless aggression every game.
Okay.
Because in all the games where I didn't take it, I would not have scored it on turn 1. And it's also extra funny because my opponents were actively trying to prevent me from scoring it, because you don't reveal it until the end of the turn when you have it, and then you score it.
Yeah.
So like a lot of my opponents, like the Hearthkin player, was deliberately staying back to deny it, and I didn't even have it. So he was just keeping his guys back for no reason. And if I had taken it, he was doing the right thing and denying me tac ops. And I probably would not have maxed it, because I would have got it turn 2, and then by turn 3, I had too many guys dead or back to score it. So I think it's not as auto take as people make it out to be. It's actually I think it's niche in my opinion. But I've talked to a lot of Felgor players that seem incapable of not maxing it. So I don't know, maybe it's me. I
Well,
just, whenever I do take it, I find myself in situations where it's near the end of the turn, and in order to score it, I need to move a guy up into a spot where I, for the sake of the board state, don't really want to put him there.
yeah.
And whenever I'm in a situation like that, I'm not happy with my tack offs. So
Well, in either case, it worked out for you, whether you're just a bad Felgor player or.
possible.
Well, all right, guys. I don't have anything else for you. Shane, I think you've wrapped up your final thoughts here.
Yeah, I'm all set. Thalgors are pretty great. I wouldn't be surprised if they get nerfed in the data slate. Everybody seems to think that. So go play them while you still can. Who knows what
Yeah.
happens?
Yeah, really. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning back in to Command Point here. If you guys have not already, make sure to subscribe, like, and comment down below what you guys think of, I don't know, everything that we've just like talked about here. I feel like we've covered a wide spread of the kill team meta, so we're always interested in hearing your guys' thoughts. If you guys want to support us further than that, you can go ahead and check out our Patreon, where Shane has uploaded some of his TTS games for like the Weird Boy tier patrons to watch and learn from. It's like high level competitive play. So our bread and butter, our bread and butter here on Command Point for high level kill team play. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you all again in the next one.
Adios.